and welcome to another episode of the G.L.O.E podcast.
A show dedicated to the realness of organization and entrepreneurship. This space was created for every woman who needs motivation or inspiration to get organized and to keep going after her dream. I'm your host, Angel J. Sit back and prepare for valuable tips, resources, laugh, and much more. If this is your first time here, welcome and thanks for joining. If you've been hanging around for a while, welcome back, and I hope you brought a friend. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Happy New Year. I hope that everyone had a wonderful holiday, a wonderful Christmas, and that your new year is off to a great start. So, guess what, y'all? This is episode number 50 of the G.L.O.E podcast. Like, can you believe it? 50 episodes. I am so excited, and this is such a major accomplishment in the podcasting world, and I have you all to thank for it. So thank you all just so much for listening and for helping me to get to 50 episodes. And so I've known for quite a while that this was going to be episode number 50. When I came back, I thought at first that I would hit 50 episodes before I took my break, but I didn't. And it's cool because what a great way to start the new year off with episode number 50. And yes, I'm going to say that a lot of times throughout the episode. Okay, so you all know that I'm a planner. And once I realized that this was going to hit when the new year started, I kind of started thinking about what I wanted to do for a few months. And the only thing that I could really think of was that I wanted to have a number 5 and a number 0 gold balloon. And I'm honestly not even sure where gold came from because I don't even like the color gold. Like, I'm not a fan of gold. Rose gold, love rose gold, but just plain regular gold, not a fan of it. But that's what I wanted. And I wanted my husband to take a picture of me in the backyard wearing my Modco podcast t-shirt. And I wanted to do one of those reels where it's like I'm holding the balloons, and while I'm holding the balloons, it looks like I'm like dancing up and down type thing. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? Because I'm not really doing a great job of explaining it, but hopefully y'all get the drift. And I don't know if I will actually do that or not. I'm recording this on the 1st of January, actually, and this episode will come out on the 7th. So that was my plan for it. But when it actually came down to me to like write the episode and what I wanted to talk about in the episode, I was just drawing a blank. Like, I could not figure out what I wanted to write about, what I wanted to talk about. It's the 50th episode, so it's a really big deal. But as y'all know, once again, I'm a planner. And so my brain had already jumped to like playing the 100th episode because all I had in my mind was these balloons. Like, I was literally just going to take a picture of these balloons and post on social media and be like, happy 50th episode. And as I was sitting there jumping ahead to the 100th episode, I was just like, come on, Angel, wait a minute now. Let's get through this milestone before we go ahead and jump to another milestone. So I hit up my bestie Google, and I also spoke with another podcast strategist. Well, not another podcast strategist, because that would imply that I'm a podcast strategist, and I'm not. I just spoke with a podcast strategist that I know, and I asked her for like some ideas of what she had seen people do for milestone episodes. And so between her and Google, I finally figured out what I was going to do for the episode. And so this episode is going to be a combination of listener reviews, quotes from favorite episodes, and comments on podcast episodes, and just some more things that I have put together. And I am going to preface this by saying this episode will not be edited because I just want it to be what it is. So you may have more ums and so's and likes in this episode, maybe a little bit longer pauses than you're used to, but I just really want this episode to be fun and free flowing. And as I told you all before, editing can stress me out sometimes, and I don't want to take the fun out of this episode. And I don't want to consider this episode a recap. It's more of me sharing what you all have helped me accomplish over the past 50 episodes in 9 months. I also can't believe I've been doing this the show for 9 months. Like, wow. And again, like, without you all, none of this would exist. So I'm going to, hop into sharing some fun stuff here. So, first, I'm going to give you some podcast stats. And I looked it up, and according to several websites on my bestie Google and information that I've heard from other podcasters, 90% of podcasts did not make it past 3 episodes. Like, that is wild to think about, because there are so many podcasts out there in the world. And by so many podcasts, I mean like literally millions of podcasts. Some of the sources that I looked up said there were 2.5 million, while others said that there were about 5 million podcasts. So, I mean, kind of a big difference there, but we're somewhere between 2.5 and 5 million podcasts that are out there that are searchable that you can listen to. But the one thing that I found that all of my sources had in common is that less than 500,000 of those podcasts are actually active. Like, that's so crazy. And like I said earlier, 90% don't make it past 3 episodes. And then the ones that do make it past 3 episodes, like I don't remember the exact percentage of it, but they don't make it past 8 episodes. So I mean, when you see podcasts out there with like a lot of episodes, it's a really big deal, because the podcasting can be hard. Like, people think that it's just, oh, you grab a mic, you sit down and you start talking, but it's not. You have to like research episodes, you have to come up with topics. If you want to do guests, you have to find the guests, you have to work out scheduling with the guests. I know I had to reschedule maybe about 5 or 6 podcast interviews back in November, because I got really sick and I just couldn't get off the couch. So a lot goes into it. And then, of course, my favorite thing, editing the podcast. Um, so, so some stats about the Modco podcast. In November, Spotify sent me my podcast wrap, and I thought November was a little bit early, because I was like, well, we still have December, but again, this is my first year doing a podcast, so I guess this is the time that they normally send it out, is in November. I don't know, maybe that's just how like their year runs for their calculations or something like that. I'm not sure, but when they sent me my wrap, I was like in awe and excitement. I was like a kid in the candy store. So this is coming from my Spotify podcast wrap. So the top episode was episode number 5, entitled Like Mother Like Daughter, which obviously featured my mommy. And so this episode was streamed 125% more than my average episode. And this was the first time that I actually had a guest on my podcast. And it was my mom, so that was a really big honor to have her as my first guest. And we just talked about organizing, like how she is very quirky with her organizing. We talked about how unorganized I was as a teenager and how that kind of worked out with the two of us. So it was just a really fun episode. Really chill, really relaxed. We had a good time recording the episode. I didn't give her any warning about it. I don't think I said on the episode. I think it's in the show notes. She was at my house. I don't know. My son might have had a game or something like that. She might have just been down for the weekend. I don't know, but yeah. But she was here, and I was like, "Oh, I need to record. My mom is here. Let's go record an episode." So I went downstairs and I woke her up, and I was like, "Hey, we're recording today." And she's like, "Recording what, Angel?" I was like, "My podcast. Come on, let's go." She's like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, so we did that. So I have a 5-star rating on Spotify, and I am in. So this is also from the Spotify wrap is all. I'm in the top 10 podcasts for 11 fans on Spotify. I'm in the top 5 for 9 fans, and I am the number 1 podcast for 4 fans on Spotify. Like, how awesome is that? Like, it's truly amazing, and it's truly a blessing. And I'm just so, like I said, in awe of it. And at the time that the rap came out, because it came out in November, I think it was before Thanksgiving. So at that time, I had created over 612 minutes of content. Like, y'all, that's a lot of talking. Like, even for me, that is a lot of talking. And you just don't think like how quickly the minutes and stuff like that add up. Because usually when I do a solo episode, I think like the longest my solo episodes are usually like 15 minutes. And when I do a episode with a guest, I usually try not to go over 30 minutes. So yeah, my episodes, like I said, solos usually between like 7 and 15 minutes, and then with a guest, it's usually between 20 and 30 minutes. So to think that that's added up to 612 minutes of content is pretty cool. So now I want to share some comments and reviews with you all. So on Spotify, you can do like a question and answer poll. I really hate that you can't like respond back to the questions. Like I can publish the questions. I'm sorry, not the questions. I can publish the answers when somebody leaves an answer, but I can't like respond back to that answer. And I think that kind of sucks because I would love to be able to interact with my listeners a lot more than that. But I do, if you listen on Spotify, I do post a question I post a question for each episode. At first I was just doing the generic like what did you think of this episode? But as I've been learning more and growing more with the podcast, now I post a question that's actually in relation to the episode. So some of the responses that I have gotten from some episodes are from the Like Mother Like Daughter episode, which was again episode number 5. Jock.Raj22 said, truly enjoy this transparent conversation. So thank you so much for that comment. Transparency is a major part of the podcast, and I'm really glad that it's shining through for everyone to see. And on that same episode, Angel L, another angel, hey Angel, said y'all sound just alike. I love hearing her say everything has a place, just like you touched on in the last episode. So Angel, just so you know, I tell everybody this. Me and my mom, we also act alike and we look alike too. And but yeah, I tell everyone that so funny story, actually growing up before I got my own phone line, people would actually get us mixed up because I used to like to play jokes on my friends sometimes when they would call and I'd be like, oh, she's not home. And so one time one of my friends called and was like, hey, Angel. And I was like, oh, it's not Angel. She was like, it's her mom. She's like, hold on a second. And she's like, Angel, stop joking around. I was like, no, seriously, it's not Angel. She's like, hold on. My friend was like, Angel, you're always playing jokes. Like, I'm not in the mood for this. Like, blah, blah. So finally I was like, Angel, please come and tell your little friend that it's not you on the phone. And so I picked up the other line and I was like, hey, what's going on? And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And then same thing actually happened with me and my mom's friend. My mom's friend called one time and answered the phone. I'm like, hey. And she's like, hey, Stella. And I was like, no, this isn't Stella. And she was like, yes, it is. And I was like, no, Miss whoever it was. I was like, this isn't Stella. I was like, this is Angel. And she was like, Stella, come on. She's like, Stella, come on, or something like that. I was like, hold on 1 second. So I was like, Mom, come get the phone. Okay, I got the phone. And she got on the phone. She's like, oh my gosh. She was like, I'm so sorry. And there's actually been like times that I have heard a voicemail and that like I've left somebody a voicemail and then they'll end up like playing it around me or something like that. And I'll hear it. I'm like, why did mommy call you and leave you the exact same voicemail that I did? And they're like, that's you, Angel. So yeah, even I have gotten this mixed up hearing us on voicemail before. So definitely do sound alike. Okay, so back to the comments and stuff. So on the episode of How COVID Affected My Organization, featuring Jessica Williams, Jessica commented, I enjoyed being a part of this conversation. It was such an honor. Jessica, um, Jessica, it was so much fun having you on the show. And this was the first time that I recorded remotely with someone. And I honestly almost cried because I was using a recording platform that came recommended. Like I said, first time recording remotely, and it just was not acting right. Like I couldn't get Jessica on via the link. And then when she could get on, I couldn't figure out how to record. And so Jessica was not only just a guest on the show, but she's also a friend. And she really helped to calm me down and reassure me that everything was going to be fine and that we get this figured it out. So she recorded from her end using StreamYard and she sent me the recording. And so now StreamYard is what I use for my recording. I never went back to the other platform again. So Jessica, thank you so much for putting me on to StreamYard and for talking me through that and calming me down a little bit there. And another comment from one of my favorite episodes, and I didn't write the episode number down, but the episode is entitled Nope. Ashley T said, "Girl, you are reading my book. LOL. I love this episode so much because this message is much needed. I wish this episode existed when I first started. LOL. So true and so good." Ashley, girl, I think we all wish that this episode existed when we first started. It would have saved us so much time and trouble. And so since Spotify doesn't like allow me to respond to the answers that people leave, I might just start doing maybe a bonus episode once a month or once a quarter with the replies to the episode. So y'all respond if you listen on Spotify. Please respond to the questions. All right, so reviews. And I know that I have done reviews at the end of a few episodes, but according to statistics, as well as my podcast manager, it shows me that some of you are not listening all the way to the end. So I want to share those reviews now. And also, y'all start listening to the end. There's some good stuff back there. So the Tracy Warren said, made me laugh out loud while speaking the truth. The first episode I listened to, I laughed throughout and felt the discouragement in Angel's voice as she described her journey of entrepreneurship. It isn't easy and it's totally worth it. I'm sure your authenticity helps those who listen. So, this episode that she is referring to is entitled My Journey as an Entrepreneur. And again, I should have written down episode numbers. I don't know why I didn't do that. And so in this episode, I talk about the fact that I didn't even sell my own Girl Scout cookies. And so I wasn't sure what made me think that being an entrepreneur was for me when I outsourced selling my own Girl Scout cookies. So yeah, y'all check that episode out. And then let's unpack that with Alex and Grace said, love the candidateness. This podcast is so refreshing. It's literally like you're getting a one-on-one mentorship session, sitting with Angel, having coffee, and hearing all her lessons learned, ups and downs, and always from her authentic personal experiences. Such a gem. Thank you so much for let's unpack that with Alex and Grace. The Coach's Alchemist said, "Oh, so helpful. Love hearing the tips to grow a business online and in such a lovely conversational way. Thank you." Elevated Creation said, "Great tip. I'm loving all the tips. Thanks for helping me get my life together." You are so welcome. Okay. I tried my hardest when I read the reviews at the end of the episode. I'll try again to say this. Spleniferous is SPLINIPHEROUS, said practical and helpful. If you like podcasts that are full of practical tips you can actually use. This is the podcast for you. Thank you so much for that. Ray08101319 said, "Love it. Love listening to this podcast. Trying to get more organized in my life and my household. I love the part about putting everything back in its right place." She must have honestly listened to the like mother like daughter episode where my mom harped on putting everything back where it goes. Like I heard that phrase so much growing up and now I use it a lot myself. I'm Fletch81 said, "Great tips. Loved her time management episode. Applicable tips for everyday life." Thank you. Y'all know time management is so important and so beneficial. New Writer 2 said, "Super helpful and welcoming. I'm hooked. Angel explains decluttering in simple, easy ways. The combination of entrepreneurship and organization is actually magical. She's already helped me get started with things I need to get done around the house and got me to think more deeply about my business in the future. Thanks. Looking forward to listening to more episodes. So happy that I was able to." Oh, this is me. Now I'm running into my own quotes. So I'm saying that I was so happy that I was able to help her out and that this review also came from Canada. And I wish Apple Podcasts would just put all your reviews together. I found out that you have to click on each country individually to see reviews from them. And so I've just been trying to do that because I don't want to miss a review from anyone because people are taking their time to write reviews. And I really appreciate that. And I really want to make sure that they get read on the show. So, and these were reviews that are on the app that I just read, but I'm also extremely grateful for the people that have messaged me or came up to me and told me how much they enjoyed my podcast or that they shared the podcast with a friend. Like, I really appreciate that. And that's really heartwarming to me as well. So at the time that I wrote this episode, I had almost 1,000 streams or downloads and over 40 followers and subscribers. 95% of my listeners are in the United States, and I am in almost 50 states. So there are just a few states that are missing, but hopefully I can get those states on here soon as well. 3% of my listeners are in Canada, and I also have listeners in Germany, the United Kingdom, Mexico, the DR, Ireland, Australia, and the Philippines. Like, y'all, I know I keep saying this, but this is so exciting to me. I mean, I know that I've told y'all before that when I started this podcast, I honestly didn't think anybody other than myself, my mom, and my husband would listen to it. And so just the fact that I've reached across the US and other countries is just so heartwarming and just so amazing to me. And so I'm going to share a couple of my favorite episodes with you all. One is episode number 3, Winging It. I heard that when people start a podcast, they usually record like a few episodes at a time, but not your girl. When it was time to record this episode, I was honestly thinking to myself, what have I got myself into? And what am I going to talk about? Like, I really thought that I was about to be in that 90% right there. So I don't even think I used the microphone for this episode. I think I just like grabbed, I don't even know if I got my microphone yet. I know for 2 episodes, I think I had borrowed a microphone from someone. But, anyways, this one here, no, I did not have a microphone for this one. I was literally I remember I was standing at the kitchen counter. I was home alone. I was standing at the kitchen counter and I stood at the kitchen counter and I recorded the episode on my phone. And I just honestly said whatever came to mind because and y'all know that is so much not like me because y'all know I love a good plan. But that's one of my favorite episodes because I just went I didn't kind of I literally went with the flow. Um Episode number 15. See, I did give y'all numbers. I just didn't give y'all numbers earlier, but I do have numbers now. That episode is when I talked about why it's important to say no in business. And I have like a whole list of lessons that I learned from not only this business but other businesses that I've done and that I've started and just in general. And that it is okay to just say nope to someone or something. And I think that at that time, a situation had arise where either I had to say no or I should have said no. And I was like, it's time to record and release that episode. Episode 19, What If? This was originally an Instagram post before I started my podcast. And I felt that it was just such a strong message that it needed to be shared. And we just let social media take over our lives so much and we get into an alternate reality. And so in 2024, let's live in our reality. Like, and if you don't like your reality, sit down and think about how you can change it. But what we're not going to do is compare ourselves to people you see on social media because remember, you're only seeing what people want you to see. And then episode number 23, which is my journey as an entrepreneur. And I think I mentioned in this episode about how when I was going to start my event planning business, I went out and I got a second phone, which was obviously a Blackberry because Blackberries were popular at that time. And I love the Blackberry that I had. And of course, if you were going to be a business, you need a Blackberry, right? And I also got a Blackberry tablet, which I returned within a week because I realized that I just wasn't going to use it. And it also wasn't a good tablet. But anyways, my husband took a pic of me holding the phone in one hand and the tablet in the other hand with like this huge grin on my face. And it's honestly not even a cute picture because I have on a pair of oversized Gamecock pajama pants and a t-shirt, and we all know how I feel about the Gamecocks. Hope I don't lose any followers over that one. And I'm pretty sure that my hair wasn't even done. But anyways, to this day, my husband still has that picture on his phone as my dad's contact pictures for when my dad calls, and it's been almost 15 years since that picture was taken. I am pretty sure that my dad and I have taken some better pictures by now, but I guess memories, never forget where you came from type of thing. Another favorites episodes of mine are the Clutterbug series. Um, and as I mentioned in the show notes, episode number 28, which was a part of the Clutterbug series, that was when I was like talking to people who were different kind of bugs. My mom and I were both in like a mood in that episode. We had just came from my son's soccer game, and she had asked me to help her with something, or she asked me to do something, and I told her I would do it, or at least I'm pretty sure I told her I would do it. But anyways, when I was like getting everything set up, like I heard her downstairs asking my husband for help with the same thing, and I was like, I told her that I would help her. I think we were already in moods before we got home, but if you like really listen to the episode, it is quite evident that we are just in moods and not really vibing with each other because like before we recorded, I asked her, I was like, "Do you want to record this another time?" She's like, "No." She's like, "Let's just do it." And I was like, "Okay." And then when she listened to the episode, she was like, "Oh," she's like, "We do both sound a little grumpy in that episode." I was like, "Oh, yes, we do." Episodes number 35, which is reflection, and then episode number 39, which is don't give up. The reflection episode is just me reflecting on not realizing sorry, me reflecting on realizing that like God wasn't in my business and that I had just been running around in circles and reflecting on things that I needed to really change and focus on. And then Don't Give Up was about how fixing a broken dryer made me think about like my business and all my goals that I have, not only for my business but for my personal life as well. And my another episode is the bonus episode with Ashley Piera. It's called Women's Empowerment and Mental Health. It doesn't have a number because it just literally says bonus episode. And episode number 46, Intentional Spending with Courtney Cavey, because she taught me how to say intentional spending instead of using the B word, which I just do not like, and it makes me cringe and makes me itch. So, oh, and how can I forget episode number 9, planners, calendars, and reminders? So I currently have 3 planners for this year. All right. Don't judge me and hear me out. So I got the academic year planner, which I talked about. And then I also have my podcast planner because that one is just a simple 12-month calendar with just the months, like no extra pages or anything like that in there. Because I erase a lot in my planner, like rearranging episodes if something's not edited yet or something's not ready, or I just feel like that episode's not going with the flow of where things have been going. And then I make like notes and stuff like on top of the episodes, like if it's already edited, if I've already sent out the promos for it, if I've already scheduled the promos for it. And I didn't want that to clog up my regular planner. So that's why I have the separate one for my podcast. And then for Christmas, my husband got me a really cute planner. So yeah, now I have 3, but please don't judge me. And I promise that they will all get used in some way, shape, or form. And I also have about 20 episodes that never actually made it to being recorded. And out of those 20, at least like 6 of them have notes and are typed up and ready to go. So I'll just hold those in my vault until I feel like they are ready to be out there. So again, I just want to say thank you all so much for listening and giving me the courage and the motivation to keep going and to make it to 50 episodes. I'm so grateful that you've chosen to listen to and share the Modco podcast. Like I said, I've had so many people just come up to me or message me and just tell me like how much they love my podcast and that they're listening to it, or how they could relate to something that I said in the episode. And so I really do appreciate that like so much. And if you follow me on social media, you know that I spent the months of November and December interviewing a lot of guests. I posted in a couple of podcast groups that I'm in saying that I was looking for guests and what I was looking for. And I think I probably had anywhere between 40 and 50 people like respond, like actually like respond and fill out the guest form and everything. And then out of those 40 or 50, I interviewed probably about 20 to 25. A few, like I said, had to be rescheduled because of me getting sick or just something, just life in general happening. And so some of those will be rescheduled for this year because it was around the holidays and every time and everything. But yeah, like 20 to 25 ladies for upcoming episodes. Like I still think that that's amazing. I did an interview with a lady in Sweden. I did an interview with a lady in Malaysia. I've done several interviews with ladies in Canada, and I am pretty sure that I have hit every coast in the US as well as like the states and stuff in between. So I've done interviews with, I know, at least two people in California, I believe, several people in Seattle, Alabama, New York. I feel like I had somebody in Minnesota. I'm pretty sure it's Minnesota because I tried to ask where people are from. I try to do it on the show so that y'all can know where people are from, but sometimes I forget, and after I've hit record, I'm like, crap, where are you from? I've done Florida. I had two in Florida, two or three in Florida. I don't think I've had anybody from the Midwest yet. Yeah, no, I don't think I've done Midwest yet, but definitely East Coast, West Coast, the northern part of the US. So, yeah, it's been really fun and I'm looking forward to collaborating with some of these ladies on some things this year, and yeah, so it's been really cool. So, I'm so excited for the upcoming episodes that we will be having. We'll be talking about like credit scores and mental health and organizing and creating schedules for yourself and your family to keep you moving and not having you feel overwhelmed. We'll be talking about what to do if you do feel overwhelmed getting organized, talking about using systems to get organized, digital organizing. Like there's so many different topics I can't even like name them all. We'll also be talking about, I had one lady I had on here is a pharmacist and she's a nutrition coach, and so we talk about that. So excited. Um so many great episodes coming up over the next couple of months. And so I'll still be airing on Sundays and Wednesdays. And of course, I'll let you know if I'm like taking a planned break. And I'm also being more conscious about the amount of time that I spend on social media this year. So if you are following me on social media, thank you. I'm not going to like stop posting on social media. I just may not be, I have a lot of my, well, not a lot, majority of my content is scheduled content. So I just won't be on social media like interacting as much. But I really want to talk to y'all. Like I want to talk to y'all. So please make sure that you sign up for my email list. It'll be on the show notes. It'll be in the show notes and it'll also be on my social media sites. So sign up for my email list and like we can interact, like we can talk back and forth on the email list. You guys can email me. When you sign up for the email list, you'll get a personal welcome from me. So sign up for the email list so that we can talk and all that wonderful stuff. And I also want to know what your favorite episodes are. So tell me, email me at angel at the modco sc and let me know what some of your favorite episodes are. Um, I know this episode is longer than my normal solo episodes, but it's the 50th, so we get to break the rules just a little bit. But I just also want to say again, please continue to just share, recommend, rate, and review the podcast. That helps other people to find the show, and it gets the Modco podcast listed under other shows recommendations. I also have t-shirts because who doesn't love a good t-shirt? My mom has ordered a bunch, and she has everyone she knows wearing them. So thanks, mom. I mean, like if my mom doesn't do anything else, she is definitely going to make sure that everyone knows that I have a podcast. I went to visit her right after Christmas and she's like, "Oh, I want you to meet my neighbor's daughter. I think her granddaughter would be great for your podcast." So like I went over there and I met the neighbor's daughter and talked to them and shared my podcast and everything with them. So yeah, so thank you, Mom. I really do appreciate it. So again, thank you, everyone. I'm looking forward to podcast episodes in 2024. And also, if you would like to buy me a coffee, you can check that out in the show notes link. And I'm not gonna fully tell you what buy me a coffee is because I want to know if you've actually made it to the end of this episode and if you actually check out the link. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much. And you all be blessed and have a great rest of your start to the new year. I'm not quite sure. I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye. Oh. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Modco Podcast. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and learned something from it. Be sure to share this episode with a friend, family member, colleague, or anyone you think will enjoy it. Make sure you hit the follow or subscribe button. And if you love the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcasting app. That helps others to find us and gets us listed in other show recommendations. So you all know that I run on coffee, and so does the show. If you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do so by clicking on the link in the show notes. Thank you so much, and chat soon.